August 29. The morning is rather boring. We sit under a canopy and conduct small talk about the Tretyakov Gallery, the Russian Museum and other worldly affairs. Today, although it is Monday, but again some kind of holiday and you can't work. According to Karp Osipovich, on the day the Tsar sent his messenger to Christ to find out what kind of person he was. Christ threw a handkerchief over himself and his face was imprinted on it. Why not modern photography? Since then, this face of Christ has been displayed in churches on icons. On this occasion, the owners again started a long prayer. 2 hours later the rain stopped and Karp Osipovich, despite the fact that today is a holiday and nothing can be done, allowed us to uproot 2 huge stones from the storage. The fact is that these stones lay in such a way that the bear could stand on them, reach the storage shed and climb there. With the help of various wagons, crowbars and 3 human powers, the stones were successfully downloaded downhill. By 12 o'clock in the afternoon the sun appeared, the grass dried up. Elvira Viktorovna was going to paint Abakan at the cheeks, which so amazed us yesterday with the color of the water in the pits and the grandeur of the entire landscape. Stepanovich and Nikolai Petrovich are walking with her, because even the Lykovs do not walk alone in this dense taiga. I stay at home. Today I am on duty in the kitchen. I am alone. Lunch is quickly cooked over the fire. Around the silence is downright tangible. The sun is shining warmly. And in the distance, somewhere near the loaches, thunder rumbles, its peals are repeatedly reflected from the mountains and roll like a long cannonade. If you sit quietly, then you immediately begin to see what a great life is going on in the taiga. A chipmunk looked out and stared at the world with curiosity. And somewhere a little further a bird started a long-grown cry. But all this does not last long. Once again everything darkens around, lightning flashed, and already very close thunder struck. Thunderstorm in the mountains. It's hard to put into words. In the city we say, thunderclap, but here it is, blow to the head. It seems that mountains are splitting from him, and a long echo only emphasizes the grandeur of what is happening. Immediately you begin to somehow understand and feel the word element in a different way. The thunder ceased, everything around stopped, not a sound was heard, and now, gradually gaining strength, a downpour gushed. But how changeable the weather is in the Sion Mountains. Less than 10 minutes later, the clouds burst open, the blue sky peeked through, the sun flashed. And at once everything sparkled in the drops of the past rain, birds chirped again. And somewhere in the distance, thunder still rumbles. The sun, shining all around, revealed more clearly the signs of a rapidly approaching autumn. Leaves covered with light yellowness and bright red clusters of rowan berries are visible, birches already have completely yellow branches, blueberries have turned brown and covered with brown spots. How much yellowness on the cedars! And the earth is already a multicolored carpet. At about 3 o'clock Agafya came out of the hut and with the words, "Theotokos deliver from eternal torment," brought me a flap with the written prayer, "Greetings to the Mother of God of Archangels, congratulations." From a student's notebook she made a small booklet, stitching it with black threads, and in it with red, capital letters, and blue, capital letters, she wrote a prayer with a felt tip pen. Before giving me these valuable things, Agafya herself read what she had written, and I repeated it. She explained when to read it and how to combine it with the ladder bosses, where to bow and where to be baptized. "Take care, don't give it to anyone." "It was my flirtation," she said. I replied, "Great thanks to you, you worked hard." And was sincerely glad of the trust shown to me, the good friendly relations established between us. A few minutes later Agafya, seeing that I had already cooked dinner, brought 4 pieces of her dark, sour bread, and then hot baked potatoes. And all this with a kind shy smile. Child of nature. By the way, I sometimes catch myself talking to her like a cute to me understanding child. "Eat something hot," she says, and I happily take on baked potatoes. When Agafya, with fanatical faith, talks about hell and heaven, the afterlife, then, honestly, I don't want to dissuade her from this. I can imagine how unbearable it will be for her if she loses this faith. After all, so much suffering and hardship has already been endured, so much strength and health have been given for the sake of faith in a wonderful future. To destroy this faith at once, overnight, would be inhuman. After all, this creature, fragile in soul and body, will not survive the collapse of its foundations, beliefs and habits. And again the Abakan canyon is filled with white fog, the tops of the mountains disappear, thunder rumbles in the distance, and it starts to rain. I go to the fire to brew taiga tea, leaves and berries of mountain ash, blueberries, lingonberries, wild rosemary and, of course, currants, because those who left to draw a sketch probably got wet and chilled. It rained almost all day. By evening it cleared up, it got colder, the wind blew. According to Agafya, Medunki stopped bleeding from wounds. It is necessary to rummage this plant until the sap appears and pour it over the wound. In case of toothaches it is necessary to keep the root of the ruchanka on the teeth. Today we found out that Agafya washes herself once a month with warm water without soap, according to women's needs, she said. To do this, she heats water in a bucket over a fire and goes to wash in the forest. It's embarrassing to be alone. Natalia and I washed each other early, it was more agile, says Agafya. Today I finally managed to implement what I have been approaching for a long time. The Lykovs made it possible to calculate their pulse and measure their blood pressure. Incredible. But the fact. To be honest, I didn't even hope that it would be possible to do it. Agafya's blood pressure was 110/55, his pulse rate was 84 beats per minute. Karp Osipovich has an arterial pressure of 140/80, a pulse of 48/50 beats per minute. With single extrasystoles. As you can see, despite his advanced age, he does not suffer from hypertension. In the evening I put a stearine bandage on Agafya's arm for the 5th time. The effect is clearly positive, the swelling has significantly decreased, it has become soft, friction and soreness have disappeared. Agafya herself notes relief. I give her instructions on how to apply this bandage herself. We need to do it at least 10 times, and we'll probably leave tomorrow. I leave everything you need, candles, bandages, cotton wool for applications, give hygienic recommendations, bandage your hand tightly while working and not cool it, dig potatoes only with mittens, and so on. In the evening, by the fire, Agafya says, we would live longer. If you leave, we'll be alone. There is clearly a genuine regret behind this stingy phrase. Of course, she is used to us, to human society, and I can imagine how sad it will be for her to be left without people in this abandoned corner of the earth again. What could be worse than loneliness? The evening is very cold, steam is coming out of my mouth. The taiga is muffled. Sleep at night is anxious, restless. And I involuntarily remember how one day, on the last night of a trip to the Krasnoyarsk Sea, the master of the taiga came to us and caused a complete wreck. Only rags remained of our tent, and we ourselves barely carried our feet. Only my faithful dog Akbar, and the kayak not raised from the water, saved us. August 30. The morning began, as usual, with exercises. However, today it is clearly not useful. I sat down and freeze from severe back pain. An old story is sciatica. The pain grows with each passing hour. I hurry left Stepanovich with preparations for the road. It is possible that by evening I will not be able to move, as it was already in the spring. I folded my backpack, it was full. How am I going? Scary to think. While Lev Stepanovich and Nikolai Petrovich are assembling tents and sleeping bags, I can bend down, I am talking with Karp Osipovich and Agafya. Agafya presents us with nuts, cones, asks us to take potatoes. Karp Osipovich asks if I have a family and says, give them a lobo. At parting, Agafya hands Elvira Viktorovna and me a piece of paper on which it is written in red felt-tip pen, Lord Jesus Christ, Son of God, have mercy on me, a sinner. Probably, Agafya believes that this piece of paper with prayer words will save us from many troubles. Of course, we say our sincere thanks to her. It can be seen that she is going through, it is a pity for her to part with us. Karp Osipovich and Agafya are preparing staffs for us on the road. At the same time, the grandfather says, a Christian needs a beard, a cross, a long spade under his belt and a staff. Agafya weaves ropes from hemp, and Karp Osipovich mends the straps with them to load Nikolai Petrovich. Finally, everything is collected. We exchange the last phrases. Nikolai Petrovich imperceptibly from around the corner of the hot photographs Karp Osipovich, talking with me. The click of the camera is barely audible, but Karp Osipovich immediately catches it, so you can't hear well. Instantly a tense face, a piercing look thrown at Nikolai Petrovich. But the camera is already hidden and we calm our grandfather. By the way, in a letter written to relatives, Agafya calls her father not Osipovich, but Yosipovich, a new mystery. Everything is ready. We say goodbye. We hear the offer to come again and the words, God save you. Karp Osipovich and Agafya accompany us to the descent from the mountain. I look around and see two figures on the hillock, standing next to their heads bowed to each other, as in old photographs. Goodbye, good people. Will we meet again? The descent down is very steep, slippery on the rocks covered with moss. Eyes darken from back pain. The descent takes about 20 minutes, but towards the end of it, hands are shaking from tension, sweat floods my eyes. Further the path along the Abakan, it is easier to walk on a flat one. After a while, the most difficult part of the path for me, about 1 kilometer long, begins. He walks along the steep slope of the coast, over stones, over moss, potholes, through dead wood and driftwood, now with ascents, now with descents. In places, I just crawl on all fours, raise my legs or jump wildly, back pain does not allow. By the end of this section, it seems, to the end. Back pain is impossible, and it takes another 3 hours to go. I take another dose of analgin and hit the road again. The further journey is just a nightmare. From time to time I stop noticing everything around, I just mechanically move my legs behind the one in front, I try to keep up. The last section of the path is very difficult, there are many fallen trees across the path. And every deck is such an almost insurmountable obstacle for me. Finally in front, through the trees, the airfield of geologists flashes, and then the houses of the Volkovsky village. Several huskies are rushing towards us, and ahead of all is our lost Cairo. About 200 meters before the houses, thunder struck and a downpour gushed. But we do not have time to get wet, a saving roof over our heads. Now rest. I stretch out on the bed with pleasure, although I still can't find a painless position. In the evening we heated the bathhouse, we steam ourselves with pleasure. I take a fur broom and lash fiercely on the lower back, but there is no relief. Sleeping in clean beds, how nice. Only my back still hurts, it is difficult to lie down, it is difficult to turn. I hardly get up in the morning, but it seems to be no worse than yesterday. This is already good. You can walk. August 31. There is no plane. We sit with the geologists. We share our impressions. We learn from geologists a lot of new stories, sayings and even outright fables. For example, there is a version that Karp Osipovich had a second wife, from whom Tsar and Agafya were born. Now, allegedly, Karp Osipovich's wife and sister live in the Tuva monastery. Karp Osipovich's second wife allegedly threw a phrase about him, he used a whip. It seems that this story was told to geologists and Oboza acquaintances by Anatoly Pavlovich, that weird man who lived with the Lykovs during the winter. However, this fact does not fit in any way with the years of birth of Karp Osipovich's children and many other facts. According to Maria Semyonovna Shmakova, the cooks of geologists, the same person who lived with the Lykovs in the winter said, Agafya accompanied me to the lower hut. We walked about 10 meters, looked around, and she disappeared. Evaporated. Holy. And also, I love Agafya. I'll take you by the hands and take you wherever I want. Probably, this is the product of the exalted brain of this strange person, which he passes off as the truth. Maria Semyonovna says that when she told Agafya, take care of yourself, Karp Osipovich is already old, he will die soon, Karp Osipovich heard and said, I will not die, but if we die, then together. A terrible phrase. If of course it was really said by Lykov. In the evening again a bath with a fur broom. Then we watch TV, we scratch our tongues. My comrades and geologists are interested in how I find the health of Karp Osipovich and Agafya. I answer that at the present time, the health of Karp Osipovich and Agafya should be recognized as quite satisfactory, and the ability of their body to adapt to difficult, often extreme, living conditions is amazing, demonstrating the enormous biological and psychological capabilities of a person. The Lykovs do not have, as far as I can judge, diseases widespread in the civilized world, hypertension, atherosclerosis, coronary heart disease, allergies, but they have other problems. A certain danger for them is a change in the diet, first of all, the inclusion of table salt in it, a huge flow of new information and poor psychological compatibility with worldly people. But the main question for them, the question of life and death, is how to resist the new microbes and infections that people unwittingly carry over to them and even through the parcels and letters coming to them. The sky is amazing at night. Star star. It seems that this is not it above us, but we are wandering in space among bright stars. It is so voluminous and close. September 1. We are waiting for the plane. All thoughts are already at home. Svetlanka has probably already gone to school. The morning was sunny today. Then the weather changed rapidly, it rained several times. By 17 o'clock the N-2 arrived, but for another hour they could not take off, because a strong wind blew in the Abakan canyon. At 18 hours 8 minutes a course for Tashtip was taken. After 10 minutes of flight, a blue haze appeared on the left along the course, a thunderstorm front. On the right are the sunlit mountains with white loaches on the highest peaks. We woke in the middle. The plane continually throws from side to side, up and down. Lightning flashes on the left, and on the right is a majestic panorama of endless mountains. The highest mountain on our way, according to the pilots, is meters above sea level. We walk along the storm front for about 30 minutes. Finally the mountains became flatter, houses of villages, arable land appeared, and now we are already landing on the field of the airfield in Tashtip. The foresters give a bus to the plane and we are back at the Tashel Hotel. September 2. On the bus of the forestry enterprise we leave from Tashtip to Abakan. There we take train tickets and, mentally thanks to everyone who helped us on this expedition, we leave for Krasnoyarsk at 15:35. A few minutes earlier, also to Krasnoyarsk, Vyacheslav from Odessa, the same one who went with us to the Lykovs, left. How strange it happens in life, for half a month with a person you did not know at all before, you meet twice, in places that are hundreds of kilometers apart from each other, and without prior agreement. There are such coincidences. Vyacheslav told how he, having left our camp at the Lykovs, went to the geologists. The track was not quite smooth. At first, crossing Abakan, he stumbled on the stones and took a fair swim, almost destroying his photographic equipment. Then he saw a moose and decided to get closer to her to take a picture. As soon as he cocked the shutter of the camera, a mighty elk jumped out of the thicket and flopped right on him. Only young lives saved the hapless photographer from the mighty defender of the moose car. Further, walking along the path, Vyacheslav suddenly discovered that he had lost his hatchet. I decided to go back along the path and look for him. Indeed, after walking several tens of meters, he found his hatchet lying near a large well. He bent down, took it, and when he straightened up, he saw a bear emerging from the forest a few meters away. For a moment, both froze, and then rushed in different directions. Probably, the bear was following Vyacheslav's trail, just as in 1980 in the same places he followed our trail, but did not expect the man to return. However, what was on his mind, we can only guess. For Vyacheslav, this meeting was a powerful incentive that allowed him to soon find himself in the village of geologists. Here she is, Mother Taiga. One is uncomfortable in it. Please share this video on your social networks, using the buttons under the video and subscribe to the channel. I ask you to go and watch other videos about Agafya Lykova, which you can see now on the screen in the end screensavers. There are a lot of rare and interesting facts about the Hermit. Thank you all for watching.